Demon Slayer anime is thrilling, inspiring, and full of lapses. What? You're wondering if I said it right? The difference is that I did. In all seriousness, the anime fails to fully grasp every little detail presented to us in the manga, and we're here today to discuss them. Our number one difference comes from the anime's second season's epic final battle, Tenjin vs Gyutaro. Although the manga has skipped a lot of crucial information all around the series, this battle goes on to add a few OVA scenes, making the battle even more epic than it already was in the manga. But hey, I'm not complaining, and neither should you, because this battle was a phenomenal piece of animated work, and certainly deserves all the praise showered upon it. The extended scenes elaborated on the workings of Tenjin's hearing abilities, which made him overcome Gyotaro's blood demon art, rendering his techniques useless against the flashy sound Hashira. And we all know what happened next. An uproarious defeat of the Upper Moon 6 by our favorite Demon Slayer trio. Moving on, we actually go back several episodes and revisit the arrival of the Hashiras on Mount Naragumo. Rui's sheer power had us doubting the Kamado siblings' chances of survival until one broody Hashira arrived on the scene. Giyu, along with the charming insect Hashira, Shinobu joined the battle, turning the tide in favor of the core. But still, the anime manages to mess up the timing of the arrival just a bit. In the manga, Shinobu arrives a bit earlier than Giyu to fight the Spider Sister Demon, but in the anime, it's the complete opposite. Giyu is shown to historically appear out of the dark mist and save Tanjiro and Nezuko, while Shinobu arrives a bit late to the party and battles the Sister Demon with the utmost contempt in her face. Although the other details of the fight are overall the same, we did notice this one inconsistency. These facts really seem damp, but the next one is surely going to take you by surprise. Tanjiro's olfactory capabilities are explained through fluid wind animations in the anime, but during his first official mission as a demon slayer hunting down the swamp demon, the animators briefly mention the scents Tanjiro smells graphically on the screen. But that isn't the case in the manga, as Tanjiro's powers are only explained through text to the audience. Another small instance during the Mount Nagatumo arc is when our beloved checkered Haori-wearing Demon Slayer runs into the Father Demon and gets pushed back. In the anime, Tanjiro sustains reasonable injuries and bangs his head on the tree. But in the manga, Tanjiro successfully executes one of his breathing techniques to flip his body and land on his feet, unscathed. This displays the actual skill level of Tanjiro, which was downplayed a bit in the anime. Going back a bit further, after Tanjiro completes his insane training with Urokodaki, the former wind pillar on Mount Sagiri, he is greeted in the hut with a luscious meal by him. But that is something that only occurs in the anime. In the manga, Tanjiro's training ends abruptly with no grand conclusion. Even the details about the Hakuko mask that every water-breathing student receives before the final selection and him cutting his hair were confined to a single panel in the manga, unlike a dedicated 5 minutes in the anime. When the Kamado siblings faced their first ever demon in front of the shrine, the demon's head was cut off, and the siblings dealt with the head and the torso separately. After a valiant effort and a long, drawn-out fight with an untrained Tanjiro, the head of the demon is nailed to the tree and the torso falls down a cliff. Now in the anime, the body falls down a short cliff and the severed body doesn't sustain much damage. But in the manga, the body falls down an extremely steep cliff, and the body splatters in a gooey pile of rotten flesh. This is probably done to avoid censorship on the Japanese TV airings. Skipping to the Mugen Train arc, there exists a lot of inconsistencies when compared to the manga. In one instance, where the child tried to destroy the spiritual core of Rengoku, the manga explains a lot about his resolve in numerous panels, but the anime takes an approach of visually showing us the core environments, with some viewers totally missing out on the explanations due to the stunning animations. The manga even goes on to explain Rengoku's pledge to not kill humans after he uses only necessary force to choke the child and not snap her neck altogether. The next difference takes us to the mansion of Yushiro and Lady Tamayo, where the Kamado siblings meet the enigma for the first time. While Tanjiro harbors a personality that can withstand the harshest of comments, Yushiro's remarks on his sister do sting him a little. In the manga, Yushiro calls Nezuko a hag, which deeply saddens the young demon slayer. But in the anime, Nezuko is referred to as an eyesore during her first meeting with Yushiro, which still doesn't hit Tanjiro quite right. But do we ever make an anime video without talking about fan service? And this difference is all about Zenitsu, our favorite freaky slayer, and his unrequired love, Nezuko. If you're among the shippers of this love stream, you're in for disappointment. It's a very cute scene of Zenitsu talking to Nezuko while she's still in her box and narrating all the events that happened while she was inside the box. That one really stung right in the heart. Back at Mount Sagiri, when Tanjiro was about to begin his Hashira training, Urokodaki received a letter from Giyu about the situation Tanjiro and Nezuko were in. But the timeline of receiving the letter is a bit messed up in the anime. While in the manga, the training arc opens with a scene of Urokodaki reading the letter of recommendation from Giyu in its anime counterpart. The scene is added to the end of the second episode in a flashback sequence, while Tanjiro is undergoing rigorous training. The Mugen Train movie was a blockbuster on the big screens, but it did have an added layer of atrocities that exaggerated the skills of the demon slayers even further, especially Rengoku, who had an extra demon foe to fight instead of just the rescuing part of the manga. Although this was a massive change concerning the plot of the manga, the movie was well received by the OG fans, so there were no complaints there whatsoever. But how could we forget the fated first interaction between the Water Hashira Giyu and the to-be slayer Tanjiro? The instances described in the anime match the manga panel seamlessly, with the exception of one tiny detail. After Tanjiro misleads the Hashiras with his axe-swinging strike, and it misses to hit the Slayer at the nth moment, we can clearly see that Giyu's drippy hairstyle did take a smudge on its right side. While in the anime, Giyu manages to perfectly avoid the hit and come out unscathed with his drip intact. The next difference is a bit sad and concerns the Ubuyashiki twin sisters. After the final selection, only 5 survivors remain out of the many who took part, but one of them appeared to be more distressed than usual. This particular person was Genya, brother of the wind pillar Sanemi. After passing the exam and in a roughed up state, he confronts the Ubuyashiki sisters and holds one of them by her hair. In the manga, a lot more damage is inflicted on the heiress as she starts to bleed through her mouth. But in the anime, seemingly the only damage done to the Invigilator was her messed up hair on top of her emotionless but quite pretty face. Now moving on to another tragic episode in the series, the scenes where Giyu and Shinobu run toward their juniors to save them are an original video animation with no reference to the manga. In the manga, Giyu arrives directly to slay the father demon, while Shinobu tends to beat up Zenitsu. But let me let you in on a little secret. While Giyu and Shinobu run toward the mountain, Shinobu, trying her hardest to make Giyu talk, utters the words, "Isn't the moon lovely today?" Original anime fans would be on their toes right now, recognizing the reference, but for all my non-otaku watchers, the question is considered as indirect form of a love confession. But our introverted and dense Hashira is too dense to notice. He angers me. This next difference did a disservice to fans all over the world by omitting a crucial detail and leaving anime-only viewers in the dark. The power of Tenjin's chain-linked double Nichiren cleaver in the manga, as Tenjin confronts the duo of Daki and Gyotaro, a panel explains all the powers of Tenjin's Nichiren blades, the most powerful of which was his blade explosive capabilities. In the anime, Tenjin goes straight to business, and his shinobi-inspired explosions of attack and evasion are considered to be just the sound-breathing effects of his technique. Although we can agree with the showrunners that inserting a voiceover between the enthralling fight would have been a huge turnoff for us, after all, some things have to be done for the overall good. Did these facts pique your interest and thrill you? So keep the hormones flowing, because Demon Slayer will return in 2023 with all the top demons and Hashiras. Who are you rooting for in the battle between humanity and inhumanity? But first, give us a like and subscribe to our channel so we can recommend you to the Demon Slayer core. Until then, see ya!